Hello everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Random Album Review. I'm your resident K-pop stan, Brian,
And I'm Larry.
and how this show works is each week Larry and I will alternate between choosing an album for the other person to listen to for the first time, and then we'll discuss it all. Uh, yeah, that's it.
It's pretty
So,
simple.
Larry, this week is my week, and I chose Underground Rockstar by CHANGMO. As you've heard, it's a Korean hip-hop album. Classified under K-pop by the vast majority of people, but people in Korea would be like, no, it's not the same. So, yeah, what'd you think about it?
I'm gonna be so unbelievable. I came into this kind of skeptical. And skeptical in a way, I had a feeling it was gonna be good, but I was more intrigued to see how they went about it. And this album is so much fun. I listened to it on the way to work yesterday morning and this morning, and it's so much fun.
Oh, yeah, so the backstory on this album. He dropped this album before he went into for his military service. So this is
Oh
the
yeah,
last thing he's like dropped. Oh, he's back now. He's on like a tour of Korea right now, which is pretty cool. And I love this album. It's so good. Like I've listened to this guy uh 3 4 years now before he dropped any of the albums, and then he dropped this one. I'm like, this is so good. Everything is there's the hype songs. Well, everything sounds kind of hype except for the first song, which we will talk about later.
yes.
But some of the songs sound hype, and then like the meaning behind it is like very. Most of his songs are about like his life, like how his like music career
Yeah,
has gone so far, which is pretty nice. You know how it goes.
storyteller.
Yeah, he's a storyteller. Uh, so speaking of the first song we were talking about, oh god, I'm gonna butcher this. So the first song is called Mora Sige, or translated to either hourglass or sand glass, depending on where how you learned or where you're from, like in Korea. But the song is about kind of about how he rose up from like where he was before. Um, he dropped an album in 2019, which is called Boyhood, and this album, if you were to listen to the two albums, which I have, but Larry
Yeah,
hasn't, not yet,
not yet.
and I will say it's a compared to the first album. This album was much more like a mature feeling, saying about how he's matured a bit since the last album, and he understands like what you know getting more popular is like and what it's like and everything.
Yeah, and looking into some of the lyrics on my own, and even just the way some of the songs sound, I can definitely understand. It feels very well put together.
Mhm.
That's kind of the best way I would. Just very well put together overall. It gives a feeling of being complete in a way, yeah, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
trying to get to that point, I guess.
hmm So, now a lyric I wanted to go into on the song here is well, not the lyric precisely, but the whole song in general. If you watch the music video, I don't know if you have, or I don't know if you knew there was one, but there's a music video, and he's like, and it's at a wedding, but it's kind of weird because he is in love with this girl, and she's getting married. But when you're watching it and you like read some of the lyrics, you're wondering like, what kind of wedding is it? Because there are like different love. There's love weddings, which is what most weddings are. But in like Asian cultures or like other cultures, there are weddings of status. Like for example, back in the old times, the princess of the one king would marry the prince of another king to establish diplomatic powers
Yes.
together or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's like what's kind of represented in that. So is it like a love? Is it like a love wedding, or is it like just for power or status or whatever? Which is anything, anything. Well, whatever, doesn't matter. But he in the song he talks about how he's like I don't know. He's this character and he has like a an affair or relationship with this person, and the other person, she has she's like a higher status than him. If that makes sense. You know, it's like middle class marries first class. I don't know, something like that. You know, it's like different statuses. You know, different
Yeah, people from different
power
walks
level.
of life.
Yeah, and but like you know, it doesn't really matter technically, theoretically, mainly. It shouldn't matter about your status, or anything, it's just the other person, clearly.
Correct.
So in his song, one of the lyrics somewhere is he says pasta dinner somewhere. Hold on, let me find the lyric real quick. So in the okay, I can't read that, but he said so. The lyric he says pasta dinner, house wine, something dessert, and it's like it doesn't really matter if anything is it doesn't matter what it is as long as you're together. Fine.
Yeah, like
Uh, yeah,
you don't have to
but
go out to the fanciest restaurant in town and pay hundreds of dollars to get a little tiny portion meal, and you can just be with your partner and just chill out at home, have a home cooked
mm-hmm.
meal, have a drink together, have dessert together, and that's that as he says, he's the very next line is, "What's wrong with that? Nothing."
Yeah, yeah. So I found it. So the English translation here says, "There's no such thing as forever ever. Everything turns upside down like an hourglass. Indebtedness, earning, generosity, happiness, you and my love. Fuck eternity. Pasta dinner, house wine, sweet dessert. Why does it matter?" So in this line and throughout most of the song, status does not matter because, like an hourglass, it will just get turned and it'll get changed and nothing lasts forever. However, people would like to believe that, but that's really opinionated and everything like that. So
It's
he
however
talks about how
however you interpret it.
yeah, talks about so going back to like the scenario thing he made here in this music video, it doesn't really mean anything. Status doesn't mean anything. It's just if you find love, you find love. You don't find love, then that's unlucky. But you don't find love. You don't. It's like an hourglass. You know, once the hourglass is like here, my water bottle. It's like an hourglass, right? Oh, look, it's over. Next. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you just
Like
do it all over again.
you do all over again because it doesn't go through. And I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, this
It was
was. It's hard, and I know we'll get to this later, but I do really enjoy this song. A lot of
mm,
it's very, especially now, like looking into the lyrics and knowing what he's talking about and everything. Very, I like the song a lot.
he compares life to an hourglass, which is the point.
Yeah,
Like once you can change it whenever you want. It's your own thing. You don't need anything. There are no outside factors that make you do that.
hmm
You can change it for yourself.
yeah.
That's it. All right. Now another song on the album, uh, called Vivinine or Vivinine. Yeah. Words are not my strong suit today. Larry, did I tell you that I tried to pull a push door at school today?
It happens to
Did not go
the
well.
best of us. It really does.
That's what everyone said when they watched me do it.
It
Happens to the
happens to
best
the
of us,
best of
Brian. Don't
us.
worry about it.
It just
But
happens to the best of us.
mm, so Vivinine, right? If you guys have heard the song before, then awesome. That's great. But if not, then the song it mixes like so there are a lot of like Korean hip hop artists that are like making a lot of like they're using like UK drill beats, and I just sounds really good, and they make it
Yeah,
sound really good,
yeah.
and that's what the song does. It takes the UK drill beat. There's some violins in it, I believe, or some kind of string instrument, and then is the CHANGMO's flow, and it sounds really good. When I heard it the first time, I was like, oh, I got to do something. I can't just sit there and be like, oh, pretty good. like it makes you want to do something. But this song, what I said about earlier, how he like tells a story about how it was from the beginning when he started making his music
Mm-hmm.
to like now, and he said in an interview, from what I'm like gathered here, that he said that he ever since he started his career, he's been getting hated or like hatred, like
Yeah.
haters and stuff like that. From the very start, people were saying he wouldn't make it. The classic like, "Oh, you're never gonna make it as a blah 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 whatever," and like that. And people have said that, but he makes music and everyone likes it, and he gets more popular. He gets more and more and more success. And he thought that with making getting more successful, people would be like, "Oh, maybe this guy isn't as bad as he thought. Maybe he will make it." But apparently, it's like it didn't change at all. It's just like
If anything, it kind of does the opposite because the, no matter how big you are, no matter how popular you are, there's always going to be people that are going to hate what you do. And
mm,
in the case of like popularity like this, the more people that follow you, the more people there are going to be that are going to hate you. So,
mm. He also considered like stopping because it got so much,
mm,
which like he thought it would like lessen the hate. You know what I mean? Not like pile on more, but it looks like it did. Seems. One of the lyrics here is "This is your limit. I heard constantly in my career, but I do it one by one. And the chapter I met is hatred. So I pull my gear for the very end for my euphoria. A." So he's using he's using like a line he probably hears a lot, like reads a lot, like, "Oh, this is your limit. You can't go past. It's just like as best as you can do. You can't do any
mm-hmm.
more than this." But every time he hears it, he makes a song, and it's freaking fire. And then people are like, "Oh, you can't do more. That's it. This is your limit." And,
he's
he keeps going
using
more and more.
he's
He's using it as
using
a
yeah he's using the hate
using
to
it as
fuel his
fuel.
fire.
Yeah, for his euphoria. And apparently, I also learned this was pretty cool. Actually, he when he was 18 and 19, he applied. He tried to apply. He applied to Berkeley's College of Music.
Nice.
So
Did
once
he
at 18 and once at
get in?
19, he I assume he did get in, but he couldn't get the scholarship. Is what I
Yeah,
wrote here. He couldn't get a scholarship. He didn't get in, and he couldn't pay or he couldn't get a scholarship, and all his tuition is pretty
tuition,
expensive. So,
living across the
oh,
globe.
oh yeah, go to America. I believe it's America, right? Berkeley.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and you know, um, he may have this song. Also, the way he raps in the song, I'll replay it for myself real quick. He has like a tone to it where he sounds like he's trying to like he's like venting kind of, you know what I mean, like
He's
venting in the form of music.
yeah.
Yeah, because I wrote, he sounds like he's trying to like, I don't know, release something like prior to like being even more successful or whatever, like he or with what he felt before, but now he's making music and now he's like, I can finally express it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
One of the lines he says is, "For all the times I shed tears, I pour out 11 bottles of Hennessy," and I just assumed that means that every time he cries, or like whenever it was like back in those days, like back before he got even more successful, every time he was like sad, he might have like went to alcohol as
Well,
his
yeah, and
thing.
unfortunately, uh, an issue, you know.
Yeah,
But
it seems like it does seem like it almost seems like he's an alcoholic though, but like it seems like maybe
he's
back then that was how he did it, but
he's
now he's like
self-aware
he's self yeah he
about his
knows that he.
substance abuse, and
Mm-hmm,
that's one of the biggest things
mm-hmm,
for someone, who is struggling. So
mm-hmm. Many lyrics here are about how people were like we're talking to him like where is this? I just read it. Here we go. Here we go. One phone call. No. For my mom, I'm trying to hold back. I pour myself a drink and I want to die quickly. There is nothing else but to go further. Is this your limit? And then is this your limit? Going through everything. All that I read earlier. So it seems like the hate. this is a very common in Korea, but like people like you hear haters in like America, like you go on like Twitter or X and put on a mask, like I hate you because you did this or whatever like
Yep.
that. Like that's about it. Death threats and stuff like that. But like in Korea, oh, it's crazy over there. Like there have been many idols who have like died to died because of uh from depression via
Fan
suicide, and
related incidents, yeah.
it's awful because the fans are like whatever, you know,
They don't
trips.
see it as a big
But
deal, but like,
yeah,
and the thing like I try to stress a lot is people are people. Like no matter who it
hmm
is, like we are all people. We all feel, we all think, we all struggle in ways. Like you
yeah.
gotta be aware of that. But
Yeah. So yeah,
it's
oh, go
it,
on. Sorry.
it's no, you're fine. It's a lot easier in today's age. I mean, also being behind a screen or behind a keyboard, something of the nature. You don't have to show yourself. You don't have to put yourself in danger. So
hmm Yeah, like oh, I have the protection of my screen and my keyboard. I'm a warrior. Anyway, but I mean, yeah, those two songs, ironically, are also on my like favorite songs list. On my in my opinion, along with Taiji, the second track, and Hyperstar, which is Hyperstar is the eighth song. I like those four. Those four give me the most vibes. How about you, Larry? What are your favorite songs or song on here?
um, I mean, easily for me, and it was a big tone setter for the entire album. And I talked about this briefly in the past, but for me, an album like you lose so much interest in an album if you listen to that first song and it is not good. But
Oh yeah.
the opening track on this album is a great tone setter. The lyrics hit hard. The sound, it's by far probably my favorite song overall. Feels very
hmm
almost in if you see what I'm saying, almost melodic in a way.
Yeah.
But
So it was written that way. Yeah, I
it
believe.
just I by far my favorite track on the album for sure.
hmm Any others or just that one?
Um, I Hyperstar was pretty good. Um, but there wasn't anything that necessarily like blew my socks off quite like the opening track. Everything
hmm
was good overall though. Like
Yeah, that's right.
and getting into what we'll talk about next, I didn't really have a least favorite. There wasn't anything that like really
hmm
stood out as being bad for me
Yeah,
personally.
yeah. Same. Like I've said prior, I think I've said it in this in one of the episodes prior to this. I don't really no, I don't really like dislike songs like or like have a least favorite in a way. Like they're all good in their own
Hmm.
way. But it was like when I think of like least favorite, I think of like oh that song was hot garbage. Um, I would not listen to that again.
Yeah,
So.
like that there wasn't a song out of the album that like wanted me or had me had me wanting to skip it. Um,
mm,
everything felt pretty good in the flow between tracks, the flow in the tones of the album carried through really well. It was kind of like you said, he's a kind of a storyteller.
mm.
Um, so I definitely I don't think I can necessarily pick out like a least favorite personally, but
Yeah, I don't really have one either. So, all right. Well, any clothing thoughts here, Larry? I, oh, I don't know. I wasn't. I was trying to transition to you. I was trying to say like, all right, time to close it, Larry, and then
um,
speak. But that's not how it went.
it's
But
all good.
go ahead.
It's all good. So again, this being very new to me, um, Korean hip hop, I will say, like I said, I was a little skeptical at first, but not skeptical like I was thinking it was going to be bad. Skeptical of Because, and I'll compare this to something I've talked. I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but in German class in high school, our German teacher had played us some German hip hop music like throughout the years that he
Uh,
had listened to and stuff. And funnily enough, like German hip hop is strange in the fact that like at least the songs we had listened to for the
mhm,
time that they came out, it was almost they sounded almost like they were like maybe 5 to 10 years behind in like hip hop. So like just as an
mhm.
example, if a song came out in 2015, it sounded like a 2010 American hip hop song. So
That's
I
pretty
was I
funny,
was
actually.
I was intrigued to see like what would there possibly be something like that with Korean hip hop, but I wouldn't say. I would say this feels, if it was sung and performed in English, like I wouldn't bat an eye. But it was a lot of fun to listen to for sure. I may even on my own potentially, but I figure you'll probably recommend it at some point. Listen to the other album, just because
Oh,
I
yeah,
did
for
I did
sure.
enjoy it. So
Hmm. Yeah. I, as my choice, I thought it was very good. It was very fun to listen to. Whenever, like, my first time listening experience, I was like, "This is insane. This is so good. This guy like outdid himself again." I was like, "He did it. He did what he said he was gonna do. He outdid himself."
yeah,
Um. Oh, I should also forgot to point this out. But like, I remember he had stated before that because with the success of the first album, because his success with his first album now is kind of I'll explain it here. So K-pop and K-hip hop are different. Like in Korea, they're like different. Like over here, you're like, oh yeah, that's a hip hop song, or like, oh, that's a pop song. You can listen to like let's say you listen to a radio station, right? You get some Taylor Swift, maybe a Christmas song because it's November 17th, and then like a hip hop song, or something like that. But I like a full hip hop, you know what I mean? You're like the baby or something, you know what I mean?
sure, yeah,
And like that's okay. But like in like Korea, it's like it's like K-pop and like all those subgenres, and then there's K-hip hop and then anything under that, which is like kind of I think is kind of weird. But there are certainly fans of both, and going
go ahead.
and with with how it is in Korea, there are like different like kind of award shows and like charts for them, kind of. Not no, not different charts. Charts are like like Billboard music and stuff like that, like any
Yeah,
charting thing. I think his first album overtook like the number one spot on like Korea's main like music chart
okay.
for 6 weeks,
And
which is
so I was gonna,
insane for like
yeah,
a.
I was gonna ask, it's like comparatively to like the U.S., like because I know there are some albums that'll come out here and they'll be like top charting for 10, 12 weeks sometimes, depending on the artist. But so
Mhm.
I was gonna ask, like comparatively for Korea, how is that?
Let me look for stats right now. Actually, music charts. Mm, Melon. So I'll just keep talking about here. So, on like in Korea, so an album if it's out on top of the chart, it'll be like it'll stay there for a few weeks, and then next few weeks. So it's like it's kind of funny how like music's planned over there. So it's like every three like so when you release a song you'll go around and perform that song like around like the music shows and stuff for about 2 3 weeks, and then you're done promoting that song an album, and
Okay,
you either get a break or you start working on the next album, but it's usually a break and then the next album starts like maybe or next single starts or whatever. And his uh his album sat at the top for 6 weeks, which is crazy because if you for example that album dropped in 2019. When did it drop though? What month? Do. It dropped in November. Okay, it dropped in November 2019. I think around that time, I think like some of the bigger K-pop groups coming like November. Yeah, so during in November, there were like a lot of like big um groups coming out like EXO, Got7. They had some songs, Stray Kids, Twice, like all these like bigger like K-pop, you know, orientated mainly
Yeah.
groups were like releasing music around the same time when this album dropped, and but his album stayed at the top for 6 weeks, which is absurd, like crazy to think for like a Korean hip hop guy, and it was really exciting, and he got like shown into a public eye, and then he felt a lot of pressure because how successful it was,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
a big deal.
yeah, and then obviously on Vivinine, he expresses what he's felt, so
Yes.
yeah. And here's an example. So Queen Card by Idol, which is a K-pop girl group, released in May of 2023, and on this current chart I'm looking at 3:23 p.m. on Friday, November 17th, 2023. It is number one and released in May. It's been here for quite a few weeks now.
Yeah.
So it's like that kind of thing. Like if like a catchy, good song, it'll stay on there forever. For them, but BTS, oh, BTS is they'll stay at the top for weeks if it was like months if it was a good song. So yeah,
Sure, yeah.
that's just how that goes over there. But yeah, uh, overall, going back to the overall, very good. Like I said it before, it dropped before his military service, so he dropped that, took a small break, went to the military to the main like male Korean military service, mandatory military service thing,
Yes.
and then he's back now. He's on a tour, and I mean, he's one of my favorite Korean hip hop artists. So can't. It's hard for me to find um to talk down on him,
Yeah,
but I definitely would.
I can
So.
I can see why he's one of your favorites. I mean, I certainly enjoyed the album, so um
Mm.
are we ready to give scores?
Oh yeah, you first though. Your first time.
Being my first Korean hip hop album, uh I'd say maybe probably an 8 out of 10.
Ooh.
I
All
certainly
right,
enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
all right. I gave it a 8.7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Uh,
It it,
so it's very good. Go
it
ahead.
no, you're perfectly fine. It like genuinely in ways surprised me to how good it was.
I got that. Yeah. Um, I mean 8.7, pretty high. So
Hmm.
let's keep it under that. So yeah, if you guys have listened to this album before, what would you rate it? And what song was your favorite? And if not, give it a try. It's a very fun album to listen to, as Larry said, and I can attest to. Well, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
See you next week.